manual to see what they were, otherwise you would just have to guess what number does what. There was no such thing as a menu screen back then. This all sounds bad, but again, there was no standard that had been set yet. Future consoles would improve on some of these standards, but the one that sticks out to me the most is the NES. The games on this console started having actual menu screens, even if they were just as basic as selecting 1 or 2 players. A majority of the games were also not just 1 or 2 screens, you were getting full-length stages that scrolled horizontally. It only got better over the years thanks to mappers giving NES games more capabilities. With the success of the NES, Atari, now under Atari Corporation, decided to repackage the 2600 to better fit the standard at the time. It was given a more modern redesign and the price was dropped to $50. The commercials would talk about the fun being back and showcase some of the better looking 2600 games. There was a 2-year hiatus where Atari was not publishing 2600 games because of the video game crash, but with the repackaging of the 2600, they resumed developing games for it. With the standard being different, we would see some higher quality games. Some of the old primitive aspects of games would also be improved. The first published game since the revival was Track and Field, which is a console port of the Konami game. You're in the Olympics and you must participate in various events. In the running events, you press left and right repeatedly in order to run. The faster you do it, the quicker you go. In the throwing events, left and right is used to increase your speed, but the fire button is used to throw. The game uses a 16 kilobyte cartridge, which is no surprise considering how much content you get. There's 6 events in total, which is extremely impressive for a 2600 game. The graphics are well detailed and hardly looks like an Atari game. The text is surprisingly small and the vertical scrolling looks excellent. There's even parallax scrolling in this. The title screen is an example of the standard changing. The fact that there is one at all is different, but notice that you're able to see what each gameplay variation is without needing the manual. This is a huge technological achievement in one of the best 2600 games. It's too bad we'll never see this one on collections like Atari 50. Here's Midnight Magic. This was a game that was planned to be released years earlier, but was shelved during the video game crash. It's a standard pinball game where you must obtain as many points as possible. The best strategy is to touch the colored block that has an arrow pointing at it. You could regard this as a follow-up to Atari's previous game, Video Pinball. This was a good game for its time, but the board looks very flat and the ball is too floaty. The flippers almost have no use, and there's no way to activate both of them at the same time. And let me ask, have you ever seen a real pinball machine that looks like this? Midnight Magic looks much better graphically and feels more like a real pinball machine. Plus, you can use both flippers at the same time. This is the superior game, and Atari was right in resurrecting this one if they want to compete with the NES. Junior Pac-Man is another game that was shelved until the revival. I can't talk about impressive 2600 titles without discussing this. Junior Pac-Man is not well known because it's not officially recognized by Namco. It's like the original, but the stages are much larger in size. The bonus items are actually a hindrance in this version because they make the Pac Dots harder to eat and they destroy the power pellets, which you don't want. This is a surprisingly large game that has 7 stages, just like the arcade version. It's impressive they retained the scrolling too. The only thing I don't like about this game is that it still uses the primitive game variation menu, which you need an instruction manual for. Despite that though, this is another excellent title that Atari needed if they wanted to battle the NES. Another game I can't ignore is Solaris. I haven't talked about this one in great detail. You play as the Star Cruiser and you must defeat the Xylons and defend your own planets. The Xylons and planets are all on this menu screen. By selecting one of the enemy icons, it brings you to a shooter area where you must destroy everything in sight. Along the way, you run low on gas. By returning to your main planet, you're able to fuel up. On the enemies' planets, you can save hostages. As you make it further in the game, you're introduced to new enemies. Some of them are able to destroy you in one hit. If you lose 3 times, the game's over. The game honestly looks incredible graphically. When you're on a planet, the background is surprisingly well detailed, almost like an NES game. When you're in space, you can move the screen in 8 different directions, which is impressive for an Atari game. This is a shockingly large and complex game. This is usually one of the first games Atari would show in commercials for the console, and it's no surprise considering how impressive it is. Here's Moto Rodeo. You play as a monster truck and you must beat the stage before your opponent does. It's a completely 2D track where you have to use the ramps to avoid the hazardous terrain. The water is the one you absolutely want to avoid because it eats a lot of time on the clock. Your best strategy of winning the race is by collecting the green turbo boosts. These let you jump and allow you to skip a portion of the level. I'm impressed they managed to accomplish horizontal scrolling. I really have to compliment the menu. On the title screen, you're able to select what tires you want. On the next screen, you have many gameplay variations to choose from, including difficulty settings and a practice mode. This is really impressive on the Atari. This would have been unheard of 5 years ago on this console. The game itself is okay, but I find it unfair. You never know what's ahead of you until it's too late, and because it's completely in 2D, you have no choice but to crash into random objects. Despite that, this game is a huge technological achievement. It was clear with these games that Atari was adapting to Nintendo's standard of bigger games and actual menu screens. Atari knew the NES was better, but by marketing their console as a cheaper alternative, maybe more people will join Team Atari. Their later titles were also higher quality and easier to pick up and play. These changes helped keep the 2600 relevant for a bit longer. I just wanted to give you a breakdown of the things that helped keep the 2600 alive for 15 years. Atari Corporation would discontinue the 2600 and 7800 at the same time in 1992. Part of the reason the 2600 lasted for so long was not on purpose. Atari wanted to jump ship, but none of the newer consoles were successful. Instead, the company published more and more games that pushed the hardware limits and adapted to the current standard.
Two different things. It's the link between the mental and physical parts of Tetris. You can know where you want a piece to go, but managing to make the controller get the piece there is a whole different task. And on that note, we go into game number 2. Both players ready? Let's count it down again. Starting off in 3, 2, 1, Tetris. I think I got a couple more messages that I missed here, so I'll take a look at those as both players get started off. Ethan's saying after party probably won't run until 2 a.m. again. Probably cut it after 5 hours. That's reasonable. Can't blame me there. I know I've somewhat set a precedent of sorts with some of my previous Tetris marathons that makes one think, oh, well, you have to keep going until we run out of people, and that is still my mindset, but I am also perhaps have a bit more stamina than the average person, so I don't think there's anything wrong with keeping a shorter schedule. If anything, it just brings all the more appreciation to the matches that do get played. And at the end of the day, I'm just happy that there's opportunities for people to play matches. Nice center wheel Tetris there by Jay early on. Going through some creative stacking here. Oh, nice adjustment on the T piece as well, as he's going to try and set up another center well and commits to it. And there we go. So Jay making some moves here early on, but Liliana managing to match those moves for the most part. Early on, 98,000 from Liliana, 88,000 from Jay. Hello to Lokenzie as well, by the way. What else we got here? Ooh. Ethan's dad is guest commentator. I'll be getting back from work late tomorrow, Ethan, but if I can, I'll try and stop by to at least play a match or two. Well, if there's available slots. Sounds like you have a good bit of interest for people to play matches tomorrow. And hello to Gilded, who says, just got home from work. Don't worry, Gilded, you got at least a few minutes here to get mentally prepared for your own Tetris match. As I suspect Jay and Liliana are not going to make this a short battle between the two. Jay having to close off the well here. Liliana also with a closed off well. Both players going through a little bit of a situation. We already saw the ability that these two have when it comes to surviving and down stacking on their boards, and both players putting it on display again as they both reopen their wells and get Tetrises off of it. So it just shows the skill that these two have, but also shows what it takes if you want to defeat either of these players. Both these players, of course, former Ladder League champions. Both trying to make the climb back up to the top of the tier and take it over, which may not be a long climb here necessarily. Liliana comes into this match ranked either 4th or 5th right now. I can't remember off the top of my head. Actually, no. I think it's 5th. I'll double check a little bit. Jay unranked here as he took an extensive amount of time away from the ladder, and so whenever people do take a notably long time away from the ladder, I have them marked as unranked upon their return. Just because there's no guarantee that a player will play at the same level that they were at the time they left. But if the first game has been any indication, and this current one is also an indication, I think Jay still has his abilities here. Will they be enough to stop Liliana? We'll see. Very few have been able to match the insanity of Liliana's gameplay in the latter matches, though we'll also address that a little later in this match. In the meantime, Liliana does have the lead on this game currently, 343 for Liliana, 277 for Jay, about 2/3 of the way now, 318 speeds. Are you asking about a co-com here, Mackenzie? Is that what you're asking? Ooh. Oh no, Jay running into problems here. Not going to be able to survive this. And Jay ends up topping out at 283,000 points. So Liliana, you're going to be good for game number 2 here, as we are tied 1-1 apiece. And another left wheel Tetris from Liliana. Jay wondering what happened to his controller. If you want to take a moment to check to make sure your controller's okay, Jay, feel free to do so. Don't want any technical issues to get in the way here of the match, so if you need to check your controller real quick, feel free to do so. Just saying, why can't I get a clean start? To be fair, you were not the only one going through digs in that game, Jay. I didn't highlight all of them, but both you and Liliana went through your various situations throughout that game. But you two survived the majority of them, so credit where credit is due. And actually, we're going to watch Liliana play this game out here, as she's got almost a half max here going into 19, so... I know we still have another ladder match to be played after this, but... when the Mullen looks this good, you gotta encourage it. I know what you mean, Jay. I know what you mean. Sometimes you just gotta rewind, reset, put the events of the previous game behind you. It's like, one bad game will not define your match. Every game is their own independent entity. Just because you have particularly awful or particularly amazing game once. That alone will decide the match. So you're not out of this one yet, Jay. But if Liliana's gameplay right now is any indication, then this is not going to be an easy one to win. Okay, Mackenzie, heck. Give me a few minutes, I can get something set up. Can I hold off to the second match, Mackenzie? Just because I don't feel like messing around with stuff mid-match here. But I can do it in between matches for you. Alright, but GG's there, so strong showing by Liliana. 577 on level 22. Is this a show? No, it just happens to be... I just took a back-to-back of ladder matches is all. What's the seeds? Yes, A0. A0292 is the full seed. Alright, both players are ready to go here, so we'll count it down again. Here we go for game number 3, starting off in 3, 2, 2-1 Tetris. Alright, as we get started off on this third game here. Actually still owe Liptonek, I believe, a rant request, as he wanted me to talk a bit about CTWC DAS. So first I'll give a little bit of info on the players here, and then I will get back to your request, Liptonek, if you're still here at least. Alright, so coming into this match, Jay having the PB here of 910,000 points, 19 start PB of 467k. Jay, of course, being an American DAS player. His opponent, Liliana, comes in with a PB of now 816,000 points. Is that a recent PB jump? No, wait, that was the 15 start Liliana was talking about? That's right. I have to make sure I update that on my spreadsheet. But Liliana also has the 19 start PB of 384k. And Liliana also being a DAS player from Czechia here. Good, let's say, in recent PB ads. Liliana was talking about that earlier. I didn't click to me that I don't think I've restreamed for her since she got that PB. Then again, I haven't done many restreams as a whole here. And oh no, Liliana was trying to fight through a high dig here early on, couldn't get out of it. And so she ends up topping out early at 38,000 points. And just like that, Jay will take game number 3 here. And so one might call it the rubber band effect there, as Liliana's very strong half max here on game 2 will not get replicated on game 3. And it will be Jay who takes the 2-1 advantage now on the match. I love having a misdrop when you're high. Much fun. I know that feeling, Liliana. I know it all too well. It is truly the DAS experience. That's, yeah. Alright, on into game number 4 then. So we'll see if Liliana can force the decider here and keep things moving along. Here we go. Starting off game 4 in 3, 2, 1, Tetris. Or 4, 3, 2, 1, Tetris. Yeah, maybe not the friendliest of RNG in this match either. Of course, it could potentially be fitting were Liliana to take this to a decider, as that has been a very common theme in her recent ladder matches. So over the past 12 ladder matches that Liliana has played, hopefully I'm remembering the stat correctly, she has gone 10-2 across those last 12 matches. And 9 of those 12 matches have gone to deciders, for which Liliana's been 8-1 on deciders. So she certainly embodies the spirit of Game 5, I suppose. And to that extent, perhaps it'll be to Jay's advantage if he can end it here in 4. Jay, of course, has been on a pretty decent streak of his own here. He's got an overall record of 10-6. In recent matches on the ladder, he's gone 5-6. Of course, was a very dominant player early on in his career, absolutely taken over the Emerald tier by storm. Couldn't quite replicate that success in Diamond, but now he's neither in Emerald or the Diamond tier. He's in the Ruby tier. Or at least, it's the Ruby tier for now, I should say. But that may be a hint to something in the future. I suppose I should also note, since I mentioned Jay's overall record, Liliana's overall record is 17-10 in ladder matches. She has, I believe, the second most ladder matches played of any player on the ladder, behind Snowy, who's got 30 matches played, but she does have the most wins of anybody on the ladder. And Jay running into trouble here. Now Jay ends up not being able to recover from the high dig, so he'll end up topping out here at 126,000 points, which will work out to Liliana's favor, because she also ended up in a high dig, which she did not recover from. And so, sure enough, for the 10th time in 13 ladder matches, Liliana is going to be in a decider. An insane statistic here. Liliana's saying lucky result there. Perhaps. Call it luck, call it misfortune. I call it a win for the audience, because it means we get all 5 out of 5 possible games that we get to see from these two. Yes, hopefully it'll be an okay sequence, but here we go. First 4 games were not enough to decide a victor. So it'll all come down to this 5th one. Just saying, imagine if I played like I play in CTM everywhere. It'd be in CTO. It's funny how that works, Jay, but maybe it is a mental thing at the end of the day then? I don't know. Well, think of this as a CTM caliber match then, Jay. To be fair, you probably would run into Liliana in CTM, I'm sure. But here we go. It all comes down to this. One more game to decide a winner. Let's see who will take it. Starting off in 3, 2, 1, Tetris. And then for Ethan Thoughts and Gilded Lizard, feel free to start getting ready and going live, because no matter what happens here, this is the last game between these two. And Ethan, if you are using Nestris Champs for this match, then make sure to send me your link for it. You can send it to me over Discord. Or if you're just live streaming, then, you know, go the usual route then. Here we go. It's been a chaotic stretch for these two. What will this last game have in store? Unfortunately, it will be a short one here, as Jay's going to go down at 25,000 points. Unfortunate first week back here for Jay on the ladder, but hopefully things will go better for him next week. So don't beat yourself up too much over it, Jay. What that does mean, however, and now that this matchup's been played, and I also got the result from Cookie Blingus, I can tell Liliana that since she has beaten out Jay here 3-2, Liliana, you're going to get to play in this week's contender match against Cookie, who managed to beat Blingus 3-1 a few days back. So I think it's very deserved, honestly overdue, if I'm being honest here. The top of the Ruby tier right now has been very stacked between everyone fighting everyone here, but seeing as Liliana has now won 11 of her last 13 ladder matches, and 9 of those victories being on deciders, there might not be a more clutch player in TMP right now, if I do say so. Is ladder for Elo? It does get reported for Elo, yes. I have the opposite of whatever plot armor is, says Jay. Well, in that case, I should put you and Max against each other, since you two are both convinced that all the luck's against you. I'm semi-joking here. I don't know what the matchups will be for next week yet. Or this week, I should say. But congrats to Liliana here, who is now potentially 2 wins away from being back at the top of Ruby, or at least for now Ruby. More on that later. Ethan is live. Okay, sounds good. Ethan, I'll get you and Gilded pulled up here, but don't worry, Jay. I'm sure things will go better for you on the upcoming week, and if they don't, then blame it on the RNG. Alright, that's going to do it for the first match here. Now, let's switch over, and first we say hello to everybody's favorite lizard, although I suppose that implies that I know more than one lizard. Are there multiple lizards out there? Presumably yes, but I don't think any can play Tetris like this one can. And then on the other side of things, it is a man who wears many hats here, and a content warning. It is Monday, folks. It is Monday. Oh, right, because he has Pachinko. Also, hi, Toast. Did you raid me? Yes, you did. Thanks, Toast. Thanks for the raid. Oh, Toast, while you're here, I don't know if you saw... You probably didn't see my ping on Discord because you were streaming just now, but I realized that you finished playing your division, Toast, so if you wanted to join in the ladder league, I can get you an opponent tomorrow because I do new matchups every Tuesday. That's whenever the new matchups are made. So if you are interested, let me know, Toast. There's no pressure. You know, if you're not ready for it or if you don't want to add extra content to your schedule, I get that. I'm sure your schedule's as busy as mine is right now, but if you are interested, you're eligible. Yeah, just yeah, as long as you let me know before tomorrow morning, I'll be able to throw you into the schedule, but sounds good, Toast. Appreciate it. Alright. We've got Ethan and Gilded both here in chat. Let's generate a seed for them. The seed's gonna be close to an all-number seed. Fix the nameplates here, as these two have very large names, although I could just abbreviate it to Ethan and Gilded, but I like to write the full thing out. There it is. Let's see here. Did I miss anything else there? Oh, what did I miss? Mathwiz, can you restream for CTBW after this match? Yes, I can, Liliana. Then of restreams. So yeah, I can take you, Liliana. Feel free to stick around then. Oh yeah. Thank you for reminding me, Mackenzie. Let me see here. While Ethan and Gilder getting set up here, let me switch off for 1 sec.